Let's talk about something that everyone thinks about as soon as they get into the car scene, and that is, of course, lowering your car. It's one of the most popular modifications you can do, and there's a good reason for that. Not only does it give your car a more aggressive look, but it also improves handling if you do it the right way. Like most mods, though, lowering your car has its pros and its cons, and of course, a right and wrong way to do it. So today, we're taking a look at the right ways to lower your car, what you should avoid, and which options are going to give you the best balance between style and performance. In this video, we're talking about everything from the worst, most incorrect ways to lower your car. Spoiler alert, do not cut your springs.
Ugh. What's that?
To the high-tech stuff like air suspension. Whether you're after a clean daily driven look or you want a drag frame on flat roads, I have got you covered in this video. And whatever suspension you're looking for, you can pick it up at the link down below in the description. threepiece.us, baby, best website to get wheels, tires, and suspension. First up, we are going to take a look at what you should absolutely not do, and that is cutting or heating your factory springs. Now look, I get it. I was a broke 16-year-old too and wanted to lower my car, but taking out the angle grinder or whipping out the blowtorch is like trying to fix a hole in a leaking boat with duct tape. Sure, it will technically work for a while, but eventually it's going to fail, and when it does, it is going to be a world of trouble.
What is wrong with you?
So cutting your springs is the first wrong way we're going to talk about here, and it might seem like the easiest and cheapest way to drop your ride height, but it's a terrible idea, and here's why. First up, you're going to reduce the integrity of your factory springs. They are engineered to support the weight of your car and to distribute shocks from the road evenly. When you cut them, you're messing with their structural integrity, and that makes them weaker. Next up, your ride quality is going to suffer. When you are cutting the factory springs, you're also making them stiffer, which translates into a bouncy, uncomfortable ride. You're going to feel every single little pebble in the road like a punch directly to your spine, and your Tinder date's going to hop out and take an Uber home. Now, handling, of course, goes out the window, but I feel like you probably know that without proper spring rates, your car's suspension won't do its job. You can expect like weird body roll, unpredictable handling, bump steer, and an overall unsafe driving experience. Heating springs, of course. If cutting springs are bad, heating them is, well, it's worse. Some people think you can lower your car by heating your springs until they collapse under the weight of your car. We actually did this in a video to a Dodge Caravan, and it was like wildly unsafe. Springs are designed to flex and return to their original shape, and by heating them, you're making them brittle, which means they are more likely to literally snap under load. Plus, of course, you still get the same issues with ride quality and handling as you do with cut springs, only now it's like 1,000,000% more dangerous. The bottom line here, if you're thinking about cutting or heating your springs, just don't do it.
Don't do it. You'll regret it, man. Trust me.
Lowering springs are so cheap, and it is literally better to just save up 150 bucks and do it right the first time, and that's why we're talking about lowering springs now. This is the first real way to lower your car. It's probably the most basic upgrade, and if you've ever modified a car, it's pretty likely that you've done these. Lowering springs are the entry-level option if you're looking to just drop your ride height without breaking the bank. So what exactly are lowering springs? Well, they're aftermarket springs designed to replace the factory units. They have a shorter height and often a higher spring rate, which means that they are going to lower your car while also stiffening up the suspension a bit. You might be saying, Jake, that kind of sounds like cut springs. How is it different? Well, it is. So let's talk pros on springs, and the biggest one being that they are affordable. They're the cheapest option out there as long as you're not cutting your springs. I think an angle grinder disc is probably cheaper than some iBox. You can pick up a set for a couple $100s. Now, they're relatively easy to install as well, minus spring compressors being pretty terrifying. You should be able to do these in like 3 or 4 hours in your driveway. Finally, if you have adaptive dampening like most modern cars do, like, M3s and stuff like that, lowering springs like the KWHAS kit will allow you to retain that adaptive dampening and not get a light on your dash. Lowering springs, of course, are going to make your car lower. They're going to give it a nice clean drop, make it look more aggressive without going over the top extreme. And they're also going to improve handling with that stiffer spring rate by reducing body roll and lowering your center of gravity. Now, it's not all sunshine, puppies, and rainbows. There are some cons to lowering springs, and the biggest one being limited adjustability. Once you've installed your springs, that's it. You are stuck at the ride height and the stiffness that they give you. There's no way to adjust it if you want to go higher or lower or stiffer or softer. You're just there. Now, ride quality, lowering springs do improve handling, but they often make the ride a little bit stiffer, which I'm going to touch on why in just a minute here. They can be kind of uncomfortable on a daily driver, especially if you live in an area with rough roads or run super low profile tires. Now, I think the biggest one here, your stock shocks were not designed to work with shorter, stiffer springs, so they are going to wear out faster. If you're putting lowering springs on your car, it's usually a good idea to pair them with some nice aftermarket shocks, but the thing is, your springs are like $200, your shocks are like $300, you're getting dangerously close to coilover territory at that point. Lowering springs, in my opinion, are a great option if you're looking for a budget-friendly way to lower your car for pretty much like a style standpoint. You are going to have a slightly rougher ride, you're going to have limited adjustability, but your car is going to look good and it's cheap to do. Now, if you're serious about lowering your car and you want the best of both worlds, improved looks, better handling, and you want some adjustability, then coilovers are the way to go. This is where you're getting into like high performance suspension and is where most people modifying their car ultimately wind up. So what's a coilover? Well, it's a combination of a shock absorber and a coil spring. Unlike lowering springs, coilovers give you full control over ride height, dampening, and even on the high-end stuff, you get like compression and rebound stroke. So you have more ability to fine-tune your suspension setup. There's basically two types of coilovers. There's like a street coilover and there's like a race coilover. Street is going to be like a BC Racing BR series or D2s, and then race is going to be anything kind of like an Öhlins or a KW. Now, coilovers, you can dial in the perfect ride height and stiffness for your driving style, and that's one of the biggest bonuses. Want to go lower for a show? You can do that. Want a softer setup for daily driving? You can do that. Have a specific setup you need to dial in for a track? You can do that. Coilovers give you more control over your vehicle's handling than lowering springs ever could. With height and dampening adjustment, you can make your car corner flatter, stop faster, and overall handle like a dream. High-quality coilovers offer better ride quality compared to lowering springs. Note I said high quality. A lot of the entry-level stuff is going to kind of ride like a lowering spring setup, but there you go. You can, however, always adjust dampening to be softer if you want that feeling. Now, cons-wise, coilovers are expensive. There's no real way getting around that. A decent set of coilovers like the ones I mentioned earlier are going to set you back anywhere from $800 to around $2,000. And if you get into the really high-end stuff, you're looking at like $5,000 for, again, like Öhlins or a KWV3. Installation-wise, coilovers are the same functionally as installing lowering springs, but dialing in ride height and dampening to be proper is a little complicated and you might want to pay a shop to do it for you, so that does add some cost. Coilovers really are the gold standard for lowering your car. They offer adjustability, they offer performance, and they offer style. If you have the budget for them, I'd highly recommend skipping lowering springs and going right to them. They are in fact worth the money. Now, on the other end of things, if you want style, comfort, and flexibility, then air suspension might just be the move for you. Air suspension, like an airlift performance kit, allows you to raise or lower your car at the touch of a button from inside the cabin thanks to airbags that replace the traditional springs on your suspension. So what is air? Well, I kind of just alluded to it, but air suspension takes the spring on your shock and replaces it with an airbag that inflates or deflates depending on either height or pressure, depending on which management system you use. These systems have air compressors, management systems, air tanks, bags, airlines, etc., and these allow you to control your ride height from inside the cabin or even with your phone. It's basically like the high-tech version of lowering your car. Now, pros-wise, you get full adjustability. When you want to slam your car to the ground, want to race back up to clear a speed bump, want to drive real low and park real high, whatever you want to do with your car, air suspension lets you do it. You can tuck tire at the show to clearing a speed bump to not destroy that $5,000 Voltex bumper at the touch of a button. Air suspension, out of all the super slammed lowering options, does give you great ride quality. You're not going to get it out of coilovers or lowering springs. If comfort in your stance car is your top priority, air suspension is unbeatable for that. Now, air suspension also lets you dial in the perfect fitment. I'm sorry, static guys. Air suspension allows you to have fitment that you simply cannot achieve with clean fenders on a static car. You want to air out the said fender to lip, you can do that and then raise it back up and not bake in your fenders when you drive. Cons-wise, air suspension is crazy expensive. Quality setup, $3,000 or more, not including installation, and you want to budget over $1,000 for installation. Now, air suspension is also really complicated, way more so than coilovers or lowering springs. You have compressors, airlines, management systems, and if any of those things fail, your car can literally air out while you're driving, which can lead to, obviously, injury, death, whatever, or at least a huge repair bill. Now, air suspension also gives you adjustability and comfort, but it's not the best for performance. If you are tracking your car, coilovers are going to be the better option. Air handles better than stock, but it's not a performance suspension upgrade. Air is, in my opinion, a great balance between adjustability and comfort, but it is super expensive and comes with some trade-offs in terms of performance. So you might be asking, Jake, I've watched this whole video. I have no idea what the best way to lower my car is. Well, I'm going to tell you right now. At the end of the day, the best way to lower your car depends on what you're looking for, not the answer you wanted, right? If you want a cheap and easy drop, lowering springs will get it done for you, but you're sacrificing comfort and adjustability. If you're serious about performance and you want the ability to fine-tune your suspension setup, coilovers are the way to go. And if you're building a show car and you want to air out fender to lip, then air, of course, is the best option. In my opinion, for most enthusiasts, coilovers are where your build's going to kind of stop. Anything like a BC Racing for about $1,000 is probably the best suspension setup that you're ever going to need unless you're like hitting the track hardcore, building like a real stance car. With that said, any of these suspension options are all available at the link down below in the description. If you like this video, let us know what we should cover next time. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon to turn on notifications. And if your car is lowered, add it to our vehicle gallery at our website to help others dial in their fitment. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.